Okay, we should be good, Carl.
Okay, 7 p.m. call this meeting to order. Would someone from council be willing to read the acknowledgement?
Sure.
Oh.
We acknowledge that we are on Treaty 6 territory, traditional meeting grounds, gathering place, and traveling route to the Cree, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Métis, Dene, and Nakota Sioux. We acknowledge all the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit whose footsteps have marked these lands for centuries.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wayne. So we call this meeting to order. Is there any additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda? Any deletions, administration?
Nothing from administration, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Any additions or deletions or changes from council? Okay, hearing none, I'm looking for a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
I can make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
I make a motion that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Okay, and so we adopt what we did last council meeting. If there's any objections, please raise your voice. If there's no objections, then the motion is carried. Is there any objections? Hearing none, the motion is carried. So we have an agenda adopted. This evening, we're very fortunate. We have some delegations. 5.1 Rail Safety Week proclamation first, though, and the proclamation. Hopefully, I printed a copy for myself of that. Otherwise, you know what? I don't have a printed copy of that one. So, administration, what would you direct me to do? Could we have someone else from council read it, or?
Mr. Mayor, yeah, we can. I believe Councillor Lee has a copy in front of her. She could read that for you.
That would be great. Councillor Lee, are you in agreement?
Can you unmute, Councillor Lee? There we go.
Okay, proclamation, Rail Safety Week, September 21st to September 27th, 2020. Whereas Rail Safety Week is to be held across Canada from September 21 to September 27, 2020. Whereas it is in the public's interest to raise citizens' awareness on reducing avoidable accidents, injuries, and damage caused by collisions at level crossings or incidents involving trains and citizens. Whereas Operation Life Saver is a public-private partnership whose aim is to work with the rail industry, government, police services, the media, and other agencies and the public to raise rail safety awareness. Whereas Operation Lifesaver has requested Town Council adopt this resolution in support of its ongoing effort to save lives and prevent injuries in communities. Now, therefore, I, Carl Hawk, Mayor of the Town of Bruderheim, do hereby proclaim the week of September 21 to September 27, 2020 as Rail Safety Week in the Town of Bruderheim, dated the 2nd day of September 2020.
Thank you so much, Councillor Lee.
Welcome.
And so the proclamation is made. 5.2 is the Vinker Bridge construction update. Troy Letwin, project manager, Shelley Molds, planning lead.
Troy, are you able to turn your video on? Oh, Shelley?
Yes, good afternoon or good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council for agreeing to see us today. I'm here with ISL Engineering, and we are representing Alberta Transportation this evening on this project. I'm hoping I can just share my screen.
I just wanted to say, Shelley, that we're very, very thankful that you made the time to do this for us. It's great that you're
Thank you so much. So joining me this evening is Troy Letwin. He is the project manager with ISL, as well as Khalid Enzur, who is representing Alberta Transportation. So if at the end you have any questions, we will do our best to answer them.
Thank you so much for doing this for us.
You're welcome. All right, so today we're talking about Vinca Bridge. It is located over the North Saskatchewan River, and it is due for replacement. And I'm hoping this works by going to the next page.
I'm not seeing your screen, Shelley.
You're not seeing my screen. Okay.
I can see your screen.
Okay.
Just go ahead.
All right. I just have to figure out why it's blocking. There we go. So the project purpose, as defined by Alberta Transportation, was to identify the future crossing of the Vinca Bridge replacement and look at possible realignment options, do a design of the Vinca Bridge replacement and related improvements to the adjacent highways connections, and try and minimize impacts to the environment, historical, geotechnical, utilities, and land implications. So for those of you who are not familiar with the project area, this is Highway 38 that comes sort of east-west along the top of the project map, and then 830 connects from Highway 38 down to Highway 15, closer to Fort Saskatchewan. So this is the study, the yellow border is sort of the area we were looking at for possible realignment connections.
Shelley, is it okay if we ask questions during the meeting, or would you prefer us to wait until your presentation is over?
If you have a question, we'll try and answer it.
Thank you.
So the existing Vinca Bridge was built in 1967, and it requires replacement due to its age and the condition of the structure. We will be trying to optimize the crossing. It's currently on a skew, and there is a bit of a crest in the middle of the bridge, which results in some drainage issues. So we're resolving that as we move forward. This location has been identified as an oversized, overweight load corridor by Alberta Transportation, and it is a vital piece of infrastructure to ensure that we can get these heavy loads up to northern Alberta. Currently, the Vinca Bridge serves about 1,500 vehicles per day, and it has approximately 24% being trucks. Things to consider during the project: the North Saskatchewan River channel is stable due to the upstream dams. However, we still like to have our bridges crossing perpendicular to minimize weights and loads. As you know, the river valley has steep embankments, and we will need to remove some vegetation in order to complete construction. We also have Beaver Hill Creek, which is further to the east of the project. It has an existing bridge that is still in good condition, and it was our goal to not impact that bridge during this project. Just some of the things that we had to consider during this project: the water courses being the North Saskatchewan, Redwater River, and Beaver Hill Creek, which I've already mentioned. There's numerous wetlands, tree stands, and some environmentally sensitive sites that have not been reclaimed as a result of previous oil and gas work in the area. Our environmental specialists identified some rare vegetation, numerous wildlife habitats, and some fisheries that need to be considered while we move forward with the project. This area has seen a lot of utilities, particularly oil and gas, in the past. We have a site that is riddled with pipelines, well sites, saltwater lines, as well as your usual power, telecommunications, and water wells. To date, we have 4 historical sites that have been documented by Alberta Culture. 2 of them have a very high historical value, so we're trying to avoid those, as well as there's 3 historical structures within the site. There's a cemetery that is unmarked just on the far west boundary of our project. We've managed to avoid that regardless of where it's located in the quarter section. There's a historical Cook family farmstead just at the base of the existing structure that will be documented and reviewed further by one of our archaeologists in consultation with Alberta Culture. And then Vinca Bridge itself, due to its age, is considered a historical structure. However, what that means is that even though we can still demolish it, however, there is a documentation process that goes along with that through Alberta Culture. So as a starting point for our project, we looked at a number of different options, and I'll talk about each one of them in a little more detail in the next slides. But just to give you a quick overview, we looked at some options that kept Highway 38 continuous, with Highway 830 connecting in at the T. We also looked at options where Highway 830 became the crossing highway of the river that connected to Highway 15 on the west side of the river. The option for this new continuous route for 830 to 815 to the west is just to try and give options for the high load corridors. So the first option we considered, it was a recommendation from a previous study that we refined. It looks at moving Highway 38, further to the north. It put the bridge on askew, however, it bisected a number of agricultural lands, which we were trying to avoid, as well as impacting some historical sites. So this option was ultimately rejected. The next option we looked at, we called 2 North.
Excuse me, Shelley.
Yes.
Excuse me. I was wondering, what is a skewed bridge?
So it basically, the bridge is still square, but it is on an angle to the flow of the water within the river. So the water forces on the different piers would be different across the riverbed.
Okay, it's kind of opposing forces.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, okay. Thanks. Thank you.
No problem. So the next option we looked at, 2N or 2 North, was basically paralleling the existing bridge approximately 30 meters to the north of the existing structure. This had minimal impacts on farmland, minimizes highway reconstruction. However, this was not ultimately selected. It did impact the edge of the Redwater River periphery area. It impacted one of the environmentally sensitive areas, as well as some historic sites. Option 3 that we looked at was to create the corridor where Highway 830 crosses the river and connects to Highway 15. Ultimately, this option was rejected because it bisected numerous pieces of agricultural farmland. It required the highway intersection of Highway 38 and 830 to be increased significantly, which would require a lot of fill. And there was a lot of detouring that would be anticipated for this option to work. Option 4 was also not recommended. This option did have 830 going across the river and connecting to Highway 15 to the west. However, because of the curved bridge and the radius needed to make those connections work, there would be a lower posted speed than Alberta Transportation would have liked. And this option was rejected because it didn't meet the design criteria that we were trying to accomplish. So I'm not going to go through the next 2 slides. They're massive tables summarizing the considerations we had, being geometry, route connectivity, design exceptions, the environmental, geotechnical, and historical impacts, impacts to utilities, impacts to land right-of-way, constructability issues, and risks associated with each option, as well as the cost of each option. This was a process that we've used to identify the recommended option, which is to south. This option parallels the existing bridge approximately 30 meters to the south of the existing bridge. And it was selected because it has the smallest impact on adjacent landowners. It minimizes construction requirements, and it avoids the greatest number of utility and historic constraints in the area. So there are a number of minor tweaks to access. We've shown a few new driveway connections just so that they're offset from each other and on tangents to improve some sight lines, as well as providing some new sections of service road just to make sure we have legal access to all parcels. This is just this example or the profile for the bridge. And the highways. What we're proposing is to have a continuous slope across the bridge to improve drainage. Right now we have sections that are perfectly flat, which is not ideal based on best practices. And we've tried to minimize impacts to the adjacent landowners as much as possible. So we've tried to maintain the existing grades as much as we can. So next steps for the project, we are finalizing our functional planning report. We are making a number of presentations to stakeholders, some of the adjacent towns and counties in the area, as well as the Alberta Industrial Heartland. We will be hosting an online information session on October the 5th due to COVID. So the traditional open house that we typically do has been moved into a virtual format. We will be in consultation with all of the affected landowners in the area. And it should be noted that no Aboriginal traditional use sites have been noted within the project limits. We will be beginning field investigations, so there will be some drilling in the river. Our archaeologist will do further work on the historic sites that we are in close proximity to. And as the project progresses, we will move into property acquisition. And the next stage of our project with Alberta Transportation is preliminary design for the highway and bridge modifications. Any further questions for the team?
Thank you very much, Shelley. Does council have any questions for Shelley?
I have one, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
So out of all those options, Shelley, which one did you end up picking? Sorry, Judy Schuler here.
Okay, let me just go back.
I believe it was 2S, right?
2S, yes.
2S, okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions from council? Does anyone else have any questions for Shelley? Shelley, I just want to say once again, very much appreciate you taking the time to do this. And it's very good to notice that the provincial government is paying attention to the environmental and historic and Indigenous impacts potentially from that area. I do have one question. So when do you think construction would take place? And follow up to that one would be, would the bridge be closed down during construction, or what would be the plan there?
So the Vinca Bridge replacement is currently not on the 3-year construction funding program, but it is anticipated that it will be added in the next couple of years, simply due to the fact that the bridge is fairly old and there is a limited amount of time that it still can be used. At this time, it is anticipated that the existing bridge will remain open to traffic throughout construction, with minor, closures as localized detours are implemented.
Okay,
And then once the new bridge will be fully functional and traffic has moved onto it, then the existing bridge will be demolished.
Thank you. Is there any further questions from council? Hearing none. Shelley, I just want to again say that we're very appreciative that you took the time to do this for our community. And it's great to see the province investing in important infrastructure in our region that's important to our community and to the whole region.
Thank you so much. I hope you all have a great evening.
Yeah, you too. Take care. So having heard the presentation, we'll be looking for a motion to accept this presentation as information.
Council will accept the Vinca Bridge construction update as information.
Thank you. Any comments, questions, or concerns from council with that motion? If there is anyone opposed, please say aye or make notice somehow. And hearing none, so then that motion is carried. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time, Shelley.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Yeah. So we're moving on to number 6, adopting the minutes of the August 19th, 2020 meeting of council. Would someone be willing to make that motion?
I make a motion to adopt the minutes of the August 19th regular council meeting.
Thank you for that, Councillor Wayne. Any comments, questions, or concerns from council with that motion for the minutes? Okay, I'm hearing none. Is anyone opposed to the motion? Then the motion is carried. Thank you. Council priorities, moving on to 7.1, information requests. Let's start with Deputy Mayor Judy.
Yeah, sorry about that, Carl. I only have one. Are we going to be bringing the snow removal plan to which one of our council meetings? Is it October that it comes into before council?
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Schuler, I'm sorry, that was a little bit broken up. You're asking when we're bringing the winter maintenance policy to council for review?
Yes, please. So the one for, when they're removing snow in the areas and all the priorities, that one.
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Schuler, or Deputy Mayor Schuler, my apologies. We can do that at one of the next 2 meetings. We can bring it.
Okay, thank you very much. And my other question is, I know you guys received a phone call about the yellow splines in front of the seniors manor. Did you figure out what was happening there and why they were missed?
Mr. Mayor, through Deputy Mayor Schuler, yeah, we're going to paint those. We just haven't finished in town yet.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all I have.
Thank you for that, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Pat.
Mr. Mayor, she said nothing.
Okay, thank you. Is Councillor Filardo with us?
Yes. Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Do you have any information requests, Councillor Lim?
He has nothing as well, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. And is there anyone else physically present there from our council?
Mr. Mayor, Councillor Campbell.
Okay, Councillor George, do you have any information requests? I can't hear him.
Mr. Mayor, he said nothing at this time.
Okay. And Councillor Wayne?
Yeah, I just got one thing I'd like to revisit again if we can. It was brought up some time ago in regards to speed going from by the skate park. I know there's still lots of both residents and non-residents that are going through there at more than 50 to 50 kilometers an hour. Is there anything that we can do to I guess support a lower limit, whether it be a playground sign, whether it be I don't know, photo radar, whether, I don't know what the answer is, but is there some way we can revisit that and see if we can get a lower speed there? There's lots of kids crossing and I don't want to see anybody get hurt. People are not stopping, they're not slowing down. And it's just, I think we need to look at that again, please.
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Lecco, we can bring some suggestions back, but I can tell you that we have been doing some enforcement there as well.
Okay. Is there anything that we can do in regards to possibly lowering the speed there, or is there, I know there was talk of, I'm not sure about speed bumps or anything like that. I know that's hard on some equipment and whatnot, but is there anything that we can do, I guess, in the options when they come back?
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Lecco, yeah, we can always lower the speed limit, just but remember that if somebody gets a ticket, now they won't be a few kilometers over, they'll be many kilometers over, right?
Won't do it.
Just things
right?
to think about, right? Like,
Won't do it twice. And that's my point, is we need to slow these people down because someone's going to get hurt and I don't want to see that.
there's not an option to do a playground zone because it has the fencing. It's just like we don't have a school zone because of the fencing. It doesn't meet the minimum mandates, right? So the council can make a motion to lower speed limit on any road they would like.
I'd like to bring that back for discussion and see what council thinks.
Absolutely.
Whatever options that you can bring back at the same time, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Anything else, Councillor Wayne?
Oh, that's everything.
Just to follow up on Councillor Wayne's inquiry, are we getting an update from the local constabulary anytime soon? I wonder if we could inquire with them what they might be able to assist us with on this.
Mr. Mary, referring to the RCMP or the peace officers?
Both.
Yeah, we can, I think the RCMP are up pretty soon and so are the peace officers. They generally come in the fall. We all have them on a calendar. I can update council when they're coming.
Okay, I'm just wondering if there's anything that RCMP especially might be able to suggest that we could do there, or recommendations or what they're seeing.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I would really like to, those speed boards have definitely proved that they lower. So I think I'll be bringing to council about a capital purchase to put a speed board on 52nd Avenue. When we joined with Lamont County Transportation Safety Group, I think we proved that those speed boards were very effective, but we only get them every 2 years, right? So, but it was a very good trial.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Dan, I believe, is next.
Nothing for me, thank you.
And I think I've run the gamut for the information requests through council. Have I missed anyone? Okay, moving on to program requests. We'll go in reverse order. Councillor Dan. All good?
Nothing for me today, thanks.
Okay, Councillor Wayne.
Nothing. Thank you.
Okay, and Councillor George.
Nothing from me at this time.
Councillor Len.
Nothing at this time.
Thank you. And Councillor Pat.
I believe Councillor Pat said nothing for her as well.
Okay, okay, thank you. And Deputy Mayor.
Nothing for me as well. Thank you.
Okay, so we're finished with 7. Moving on to number 8, request for decisions, ATCO Gas and Pipeline Limited franchise fees.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With the administration, I'd like to provide council with the opportunity to review the current ATCO Pipeline Ltd franchise fees. We're recommending that Town Council direct administration to start the process for increasing the 2021 ATCO Gas and Pipeline Ltd franchise fees from 15 to 20%. The town of Bruderheim created a natural gas distribution service agreement with ATCO Gas and Pipelines Limited on May 9th, 1956. This agreement was extended in 10 and 20-year increments. On March 16, 2016, the most recent agreement was approved by Council as a bylaw 34-2015. The franchise fees were 10% and then increased to 15% with this most recent bylaw in 2015. The current franchise fee percentage forecast for 21 franchise revenue is $55,503 with the current 15% franchise fee. The Alberta Utilities Commission has capped electrical franchise fees at 20% and natural gas franchise fees at 35%. Strategic plan areas, the community is educated on responsibilities and limitations of council administration, other impacts, Municipal Government Act, RSA 2000, Chapter M26, Section 45, and the Alberta Utilities Regulations. The municipality is responsible for establishing the level of fee through the franchise agreement with the distribution company. However, the Alberta Utilities Commission must approve the franchise agreement. Once approved, the distribution company is then able to recover these costs from its customers. ATCO Gas and Pipelines Ltd. provided a letter dated August 25th advising the town of Bruderheim Chief Administrative Officer Patty Pettibrosi that November 1st, 2020 is the deadline for requesting an increase to the current franchise fee percentage for 2021. An increase to 20% franchise fee would mean $74,004 in franchise fee revenue, which is an increase of $18,501. Communication plan, we are required to notify the residents of our community of any changes to the franchise fee percentage to be assessed. The changes must be advertised for 2 weeks in the local newspaper and other forms of communication used within the communities, along with a letter that would be sent to the Alberta Utilities Commission advising them of changes in the existing agreement. We have attached the August 25th letter from Paul Donano, Manager ATCO Natural Gas, and Bylaw 34/2015, a bylaw to execute a 10-year agreement with ATCO Gas and Pipelines and to confer a franchise on the company to deliver natural gas.
Thank you for that. We're looking for a motion from council for this franchise fees.
I'll bring that forward.
Thank you, Councillor Pat.
I move the town council directs administration to start the process for increasing the 2021 ATCO Gas and Pipelines limited franchise fee from 15% to 20%.
Thank you for that motion. Any comments, questions, or concerns, thoughts from council with this motion?
I have one question.
Councillor Pat had her hand up, and then Councillor George.
I just wanted to thank administration for including the franchise fees that communities around us have, so we can look at those and compare and think about, are we going to put this on our residents or what? So for me, that was a deciding factor in my thoughts on if we should go forward or not.
Thank you for that, Councillor Pat. Councillor George.
Can you unmute?
Sorry,
Please?
he must be on mute.
You're good.
Councillor George, are you there now?
Yeah. My question is, what would the increase impact? What amount would the increase impact the average household with this increase?
I'm not hearing anything from administration.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I was doing my gazettas.
Okay,
So
great.
of course it's based on consumption, but the average resident would see anywhere from $25 to $40 a month, based
Thank
on
you for that.
consumption, of course.
On average, 1,200 square foot home kind of thing.
That would be on the lower end, the $20, $25.
Okay.
Again, I would have to come back to council because it's always based on consumption. So that's probably a better number to give council. I just divided by the number of residents we have. But of course, our bigger commercial industrial areas would use higher consumptions of gas, right?
Correct.
So.
Thank you for
Last
that.
time we did a 5%, I think it only made a $5 a month change on the average household. But Mr. Mayor, I would have to come back to council with numbers for that.
So it's good to
Great
hear
question.
what that is.
Yeah.
Any other questions from council?
If I understand you right, Patty, that increase is at the total amount, or is that the $25 to $40 a month over and above what we're paying now per month?
Mr. Mayor, last time a 5% increase was about $5 for the average 1,200 square foot house. But again, I would have to go on what the rates are this time. But dividing it about the number of households, if everybody used the same, it'd be around $20, $25 a household. But I don't know what the commercial and industrial draw is in our community. Don't forget all the farms, the greenhouse, all our industry are on that total franchise fee. So I would like to be able to bring that back if that's an important question for sure.
Yeah, because that's a significant increase on the overall utility bill.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would say let Patty take it back and review it and bring us back some numbers because I kind of think I'm not sure if we're going to be quite that high. But yeah, have her bring it back. Thanks.
Nice.
Councillor Lynn?
Yeah, I think, I don't know if any of you guys got your gas bill, but I got one for July and it was $138. I've never saw a bill that high before at this time of the year, and I'm not running my furnace. So I think any increase, it'll be too much. We're paying $400 a month in winter months now. So I can't see this 5% on that even is be outrageous. So I could never support this.
Thank you, Councillor Lynn. And any other comments, questions, or concerns from council?
Mayor Hoke? I don't know if you can.
Go ahead, Councillor Wayne.
Can you see us at all, or?
Yeah, I can see you, yeah. I can just see you when you're speaking. Only the person that's speaking I can see.
Okay. Yeah, I would recommend bringing it back because when I looked at my last bill, I only paid I paid a $5 fee, and if this is going to jump it up by $25 to $30, I'm hoping that that's not right. So I think we should bring that back and review it again.
If you guys mind, if I jump in for 2 seconds.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Yeah.
Just real quick math. Even on a $400 bill, 5% is $20. $200 bill, it's $10. And this is based on consumption. It's not based on the fees of supplying it to the homes and all those other things. So it's just consumption. Even on a $400 bill, if you're paying $75 just to get it to your house, you're paying $15 extra in a month. So
thank you for that clarification. Any other thoughts from council? I do have some thoughts for council to consider on this motion. First of all, I have a question for administration. If we were to vote this motion down and ask administration to bring it back, is there a deadline to get this in by, or?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we would have to let them know by November 1st. So we have some time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
I guess, Mr. Mayor, what I was looking for is, so if we vote down the recommendation that we go to 20%, I was just looking for direction of councils even in favor of entertaining the idea before we start crunching numbers and right.
I have some more thoughts for council to consider about this. So we, as all of the communities in Lamont County, have experienced Lamont County withdrawing recreation funding, and it's close to the same figure that administration is telling us we would be getting from this franchise fee. We need to find a way to offset what Lamont County has taken away from us, because it won't be just for this year. It's going forward. We're not going to get that money anymore. And unfortunately, the hard reality is that money is going to have to come from somewhere. And so we have to start thinking about how we can address that issue for our community, and whether it's this method or some other method. We're going to have to face up to the fact that because Lamont County has withdrawn our recreation funding starting this year, correct, administration?
Mr. Mayor, that's correct. We have a shortfall of $20,000 on this year's budget, and this increase would at 5% would bring us $18,000.
Yeah, so I hear what and council is saying, and I agree that maybe we need to have some more numbers crunched so we can come back to us. Obviously, the folks that burn the most gas would have the most hit on this, which would be likely our commercial and industrial users. But I would be also in favor of getting more information and bringing it back. But we need to consider how we're going to bear up to the fact that Lamont County has withdrawn our recreation funding from a contract that they had signed. So is there any further thoughts from council on this motion?
I only
Aye.
thought it,
Councillor George and then Councillor Pat.
my only thought is we can't keep going to the ratepayers all the time to solve our problems. We have to be a little bit more open-minded and find different ways of doing things other than going to the ratepayer to do our budgeting. Your idea is great, Carl. I have no problem with that. But right now we have people that are battling bills as it is. More increases is not the way to help our ratepayers.
Hey, thank you, Councillor George. I'd be all ears on what your thoughts are and how we can come up with that shortfall. Councillor Pat. Sorry, you're on mute.
I am in agreement with George and Len in terms of we can't be after the ratepayers when something like this happens, and we're also going into budget. So they're almost getting hit from all sides, and 15%, that's where we're at. Heaven forbid that we would ask for a decrease. However, this comes back every year. So 2021, it'll be addressed again. And at that time, maybe things will have changed and some decisions will be made on council with budget that we won't have to be going after franchise fees, or maybe at that time we will. But for this time, not for myself, I cannot support this.
Okay, thank you. Any other
Alrighty.
thoughts from
Mayor?
council?
If I can, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
So if I'm not mistaken, ATCO doesn't come back every year for review. This is the only franchise fee we have. We don't have anything for electrical. That's the one that comes back every year. And we are one of the few communities that do not have any franchise fees on our electrical, but our gas we do. So this one only comes back every 10 years, if I'm not mistaken, Patty. Is that what you told us in the beginning?
Mr. Mayor to Deputy Mayor, no, it's more frequent than that, but I will have to look into how often that, I will bring that back to council if.
But it's
we'll
not
bring-
every year you're bringing it back.
No, last year we brought the electrical,
That's right. Thank you very much.
Fortis.
Yeah, the most recent agreement was 2015 we had. So
I would guess it would be 5 years, yeah.
yeah, thanks. So I believe we've fully investigated this. Looking for a vote on this motion. All those in opposition to the motion, please voice your opinion.
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and the motion is not carried. So will the information be coming back to council administration?
Mr. Mayor, if I could just get a motion directing administration to bring back more information as it relates to each individual resident, the increase would be. If council's doesn't want to entertain this at all this year, then that would be voted down, that motion.
Sure.
That makes sense.
Would someone be willing to make that motion?
I would make that motion, Mr. Mayor. I make a motion that town council directs administration to start the process for increasing the ATCO gas pipelines franchise fee, so we know what the numbers are from the 15% to 20%.
And bringing it back before the decision date is required?
Yes, I can add that into.
Okay.
Does that work for you, Pat?
Mr. Mayor, through Deputy Mayor, yes, that would be great. If council
Okay.
could agree on that motion.
Any
I,
thoughts, questions
have
on
a-
that motion, Councillor George?
Yeah, I thought we just had a motion to defeat that motion.
Yeah, and this motion is to bring it back, but with more information.
Or what's the point of making one motion and then another one when it's already been defeated?
Because this motion seemed to have conflicting information. As Councillor Dan brought forward, the increase is not what was touted in the paperwork.
I feel that this is an avenue that could redirect.
So if I may, what was the number that voted against it? Patty, do you guys have that?
Mr. Mayor, through Deputy Mayor, 4 voted against.
Okay.
We're just trying to reinvent the wheel here.
Mayor Hope?
Mr. Mayor, if I could try to clarify, the first one was defeated because we were asking council to approve a 15 to 20% franchise fee. This motion is to direct administration to bring it back again with more information.
What was the point of the first motion then?
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Campbell, that motion would have been that you're directing administration to increase fees from 15 to 20. And some of the councillors believe that we need more information to make that decision. If I believe that's what I'm being directed to do.
Correct. So is there any other comments, thoughts, questions from other councillors on this motion?
Yes, for me, I agree with George on that. Is once we defeat it, I think we have to move on and look at something else. Look at the budget. There's a lot of room in that budget, Carl. I don't know what you look at, but we spend way too much money in other areas. So I don't think we need to harass the people anymore in our town with more debt.
Thank you for that, Councillor Len. I'd be all ears to hear your thoughts on some concrete ideas on exactly how to do that.
I do have them.
Yeah, is Councillor Alecko in that voice there that was asking to speak? Did I hear that?
No, I was just, again, I'm just looking for clarification, that's all, so.
Okay. Was there any other thoughts, questions or concerns on this motion?
I do have a thought that
Go ahead, Councillor Pat.
it's just putting more load on administration. We're just putting more load on administration to go through numbers and crunch and come back for a motion that's been defeated. And that's kind of redundant.
Yeah, the thought was that some of that information was a little bit flawed, as Councillor Dan brought forward. The information on what it would cost the average household sounded skewed. So, but if there's no more thoughts or questions, we'll see if the motion gets carried or not. So all those not in favor of the motion, please voice your opinion.
Not in favor.
Anybody else? Yeah, if there's no one else opposed to the motion.
So
Then the
I'm
motion
looking
is-
at them all, Carl, and it looks like 3 are opposed. I think you should poll individually because there's a
Okay.
couple of them haven't got their speakers on, so you can't hear them.
Okay, thank you. So Councillor Pat was a no. Councillor Len is voting how?
No.
Okay, and Councillor George
No.
and Deputy Mayor
Yes.
and Councillor Dan
Yes.
and Councillor Wayne
Yes.
and Mayor, yes. So then the motion is carried, is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. So administration will bring back to the next council meeting more information.
Great, thank you very much. So moving on to 8.2 municipal stimulus program.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your patience. We have to make sure we mute and unmute everybody or we get feedback here at the fire hall.
No
The
problem.
report here is to provide council with capital project options to submit to the municipal stimulus program for funding consideration. We're asking council to direct administration to submit funding approval to the MSB for the following capital projects totaling $165,822. And the motion will include the projects that council wishes to go forward. On July 29th, town administration received notice that the town of Bruderheim was eligible to receive up to $165,822 in grant funding for capital projects under the municipal stimulus program. The program was created to sustain and create local jobs, enhance provincial competitiveness and productivity, position communities to participate in future economic growth, and reduce municipal red tape to promote job-creating private sector investment. MSP funding amount is allocated on a per capita basis and gas tax fund allocations. Municipalities must submit their project requests for approval by October 1st, 2020. Projects must begin construction in 2020 or 2021, and all funds must be expended before December 31st, 2021, or repaid to the province. Payments for 2020 expenditures will be issued once municipalities sign the conditional grant agreement and receive approval on their project applications. Payments for 2021 expenditures will be issued in May 2021. Projects must not create new operational funding requirements for the province and must not, as a result of the project, lead to higher increased municipal taxes. Projects previously approved by MSI or gas tax funding are not eligible, and municipalities will not be permitted to withdraw and resubmit MSI or GTF projects to gain eligibility. We must attest that the project or projects would not go ahead this year or next year in the absence of support through this stimulus program. Strategic plan areas, a sustainable and balanced economy using grant opportunities to fund capital projects to lower the financial burden on ratepayers. A healthy and vibrant community, continuing to upgrade existing infrastructure, increase safety of the public using our infrastructure. Infrastructure, safe and sustainable infrastructure through maintenance and replacement of aging infrastructure. Open and transparent governance, engaging in public discussions on the use of unbudgeted funding opportunities. Other impacts, legal and ledge, municipal stimulus program guidelines. This opportunity provides an unbudgeted revenue source for the community to upgrade or add much needed capital improvements in the community. Ensuring that we carefully discuss our application and that aligns with the program guidelines ensures our eligibility for funding disbursement. The approved application will be shared on the town website, social media accounts, and advertised on the capital project construction sites. Signage for MSP funding will follow the Government of Alberta signage guidelines, and if we've attached the MSP project suggestions and MSP project guidelines. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for that. So I'd be looking for a motion from council to direct administration on this municipal stimulus program.
So I make a motion that town council direct administration to submit funding approval for the stimulus program for the following capital projects totaling $165,822.
Thank you for that, Councillor Wayne. Any thoughts, questions, concerns, ideas from council on that motion? Councillor Wayne.
Does that include our
Councillor
projects?
Wayne and then Councillor Pat.
Yes, does that include motions? The
Sorry,
motion will
Councillor
include what
Wayne.
council wants? Like that,
I'm
what
sorry,
do we
Councillor
want?
Pat.
It doesn't have 1, 2, 3.
Councillor Pat, Councillor Wayne was first. We'll let Councillor Wayne go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's okay. So this money is not matched money. This is money that they're giving us for that to complete. Is that correct? It's not a matched.
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Lecco, that's correct. This is not matching funds. Mr. Mayor, while I have the mic, maybe we could just do one councillor at a time. So I'm sure every councillor would like to weigh in on this one, and then we
Absolutely.
could avoid the overlap.
So Councillor Pat was next.
Unmute, Councillor Pat.
The motion states that we have the projects in place, number 1, number 2, number 3, but we don't. So how can we vote on a motion when we don't have those in place? Just a question.
Mr. Mayor, sorry, maybe that council direct administration to proceed with the recommended priorities from administration.
Okay.
And then you could defeat that motion and adjust it if needed, if you're not going with our recommendations, right? So, Mr. Mayor, we've attached with check marks our priorities. So we could have the motion say that you direct administration to proceed, submit funding for the recommended admin priorities. And then council could defeat that or and amend as needed.
Okay. So do you accept that amendment to the motion, Councillor?
Councillor Lee?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, for sure. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you for that.
I don't have the list that we should have from you, Patty. That's where I think the confusion is. When I go down and I review all the emails, I haven't got the list attached of what's your recommendation.
Maybe administration could take a minute to just review the list.
Absolutely, Mr. Mayor, it's important. Would you like me to start with all the projects or the ones admin is recommending?
I would go with the recommended first, I guess.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And
So
then
as you know, if you, Deputy Mayor, did you get the attachment on the, somebody's not muted, sorry. Deputy Mayor, did you get the attachment on the council package that had the summary of the program?
What's it called again?
MSP?
I
You're
got
supposed
council
to-
report MSP project submissions.
Yeah, that's the one we're looking at, and the guidelines. So the guidelines are very specific. They break it
got
down
that.
into sections. And so we believed that our priorities would be the Emergency Operations Center for $30,000, the fire training facility, which is council chambers, for $25,000, and that would be to wire it up for online and microphones for fire and council and our staff to do training. We also need a lift station pump that would fall under the wastewater collection and treatment system. Under water supply, we need fire hydrants and additions, one at the lift station, one next to Queen's Park. With the addition of the hotel guests, that's increased our need for a fire hydrant over there. A public works roof replacement for $35,000, and that would be the $165,000. Other options would be to upgrade our Brookside and Sunset playgrounds, which will need to be done in the next 5 years or so for $30,000. Go ahead with the community park playground for $209,000. Community park splash pad for $205,000. Campground upgrades, electrical, water, sewer for $40,000. Washroom facilities at the community park and campground for $35,000. Fencing at the community park for $50,000. Asphalt surfacing at the outdoor rink for $125,000. Bridge repairs, $165,000. Pedestrian trail barrier along bridge crossing on 52nd for $30,000. Trail lighting for $70,000. Street lighting additions, $165,000. Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I missed one that Min is recommending. Pedestrian signal across 52nd at the bridge for the school children, $15,000. Culvert replacements at Range Road 205 and 204 for $45,000. Under betterment, building lighting upgrades, energy efficiency, continue with that program for $165,000. And also community entrance signs 3 at $15,000, which would total $45,000.
So while we got you going
Mr.
on
Mayor, if I
yep, go ahead.
I just want to say that there's quite a few restrictions. There's quite a few rules and regulations. We can't have received any other provincial funding for any of these projects. We can't, again, as I said in my report, we have not got them budgeted to go ahead in 2021 presently. And a lot of them, we can't buy a tractor, we can't buy any capital additions, equipment. I'm sure you all read all the conditions. There's an extensive amount. The purpose of this funding is to stimulate the economy, which means contracted services, basically. None of our staff can do the work. All has to be contracted.
So just walk us through your thought process on the ones that were selected by administration.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, so the Emergency Operations Center, we've been turned down 3 times now for funding. It is one of the ones that is on the list. The fire training facility, which is part of the council chambers where we sit, we believe that could be used by multiple groups. I think I told that to council before, our nonprofits, our council, our fire, public works people, just bringing up the electronic media capacity of these facilities. The lift station pump, that's an obvious one. It's due for replacement in a few years. The fire hydrant lift station, those fire hydrants are obviously a necessity and part of our capital upgrade program. The public works roof replacement, Again, that's in the 5-year capital in 2022. Or bridge repairs, that's on 52nd Avenue. Of course, that's a very large project that we're hoping to look for some bridge funding for, so we didn't select that one. The pedestrian trail barrier, that one is one that I'm struggling with, that I would like to see happen. So again, we have it's a very short timeline to make sure these projects are completed, and we had to weigh that in too. And the pedestrian signal across 52nd at the bridge, we've got a lot of positive comments about the one at the community park. I know Councillor Lecco has concern with speeds, but I've had a lot of positive feedback from people that are using that crosswalk, thanking us for putting that in there. I think the same value could be achieved putting it to our school as well, slow people down.
So there was a lot of
So that's
careful
sort of our thought
consideration on
process.
these choices over the other ones. That's kind of what I was looking for.
Mr. Mayor, I really, I was looking at safety as one of my primary when I was kind of grading everything, and as well as failing infrastructure.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from council?
Mayor.
I have a question.
Oh, sorry, I think Councillor Wayne and then Councillor George.
So all the ones that are checked off are the ones that you're submitting, correct?
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Lecco, those are the ones I'm recommending to council that we submit.
Because when I tally those up, that equals 175,000, right? So I'm just wondering, is there a difference of 12,000 roughly?
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to, once council approves what administration can submit, I would like to suggest that I give municipal affairs. This is a very strict process. If we fall off and I've missed something, I would like to oversubmit and make sure, send it to municipal affairs that these, I didn't miss anything and these all indeed do qualify. So
Oh, awesome. Oh, perfect. Thank you. I wasn't sure if there was, it says 165 on here. I thought, oh, we're 10,000 over. I wasn't sure if that was an issue or.
yeah, I'm just actually supersonically nervous that there's so many rules and regulations, and they are, if you don't qualify, your money goes to the next friend. So I want to make sure that we've got everything. And if council, well, I need direction tonight, absolutely 100% direction. And my plan is Friday to have a call with municipal affairs and make sure that the projects do qualify.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillor George?
I have to give praise to administration for the work that they've put into this. There's been a lot of thought, and it's not frivolous spending. A lot of it in the infrastructure and necessities of what we need. I have to be in 100% approval of their recommendations. Thanks once again for all the hard work that you put into this.
Thank you, Councillor George. And so rounding out the rest of the council, is there anyone else that's wanting to voice an opinion or a thought on this?
Well, I'm kind of,
Councillor Ben?
yeah, I'd like to see that washroom facilities in the community parking campground get ahead of that before we do much more development there. Put one there for the use of the citizens at this time. And so I would take that as one of my top priorities.
Thanks for reading over that, if I may, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for reading that over, Patty. I didn't get it, but it sounds like your list is right on kind of what I was thinking of different things too, so good job.
So I made note of Councillor Len's thought there, and we'll come back to that with the rest of council in a minute. Councillor Dan, have you any thoughts?
Personally, I really like the list. I think that obviously administration put their thought and their thinking caps on when they looked at it, and I agree with it. There wasn't any real substitutions I can think of. Yeah, thank you guys for all the hard work.
Thank you, Councillor Dan. Was there any other thoughts or opinions from council on this? So circling the wagon back to Councillor Len's thought, which validates, I guess, the usage of the park and campground if we were looking to have washroom facilities there. Is anyone from, like, is there consensus from council that we knock something else off the list, or we leave the list as is? Just going to do a random poll through the council.
If I might interrupt, can we ask Councillor Lynn what maybe he would like to see substituted instead of the washrooms, what he would like to see booted off?
Yeah, great idea.
Can you unmute, please, Len?
The emergency operations center, to me, is not a high priority at all. I believe the fire hydrants, we've been getting along, there's some close by there, so I don't know if they're really that high priority, but we are developing that area over there, and I think we have to keep ahead of it, because if we don't do that, it'll bite us and we won't have that in place. And we got free money to do it now. In the future, it'll be a lot more expensive. So that's my thoughts on it.
Okay, so you're thinking that either the hydrants or the emergency operations center would get bumped off the list?
Yes.
Which hydrant are you talking about? At the lift station or at the Queen's Park?
Well, I don't know if we need a fire hydrant over at the lift station. I don't think we need one there. I mean, there's not an issue over there, and there is fire hydrants close to Queen's Park as it is.
So I would like to hear administration's thought about the fire hydrant. How is that valid concern? Is there any other water supply there if there was a fire at the Public Works?
Thank you, Mayor. The reason we actually got cited by the safety codes, just a second, Mr. Mayor, I have to mute somebody. Mr. Mayor, what's Pally? So, Mr. Mayor, at the hotel, we were given instruction on a temporary approval of the hotel based on 30% occupancy. Once they're full occupancy, we have no choice. The fire hydrant has to go in. So it would be on our radar. And the one at the lift station is going to greatly reduce the cost of vacuum trucks. Also lessen the wear and tear on breaking debris so pumps don't clog. So having that capacity there will reduce operational costs in the future. The Emergency Operations Center, as you know, I've been working for 4 years on fundraising for this. We have industry partners that we depend on for support with our community who have contributed and have legislative requirements to get this Emergency Operations Center. Administration's tried multiple times with nonprofits in a community to get other grant funding, and we were unsuccessful. So that's why it's a priority for me to make sure we come through with our partnership on this one.
And the need for the Emergency Operations Center would be?
Mr. Mayor, as a municipality, we have to have an Emergency Operations Center. How it looks and how it works is our decide. But again, I partnered with industry partners to make it a regional Emergency Operations Center. I don't see the value. Actually, I agree with Len to have an Emergency Operations Center that just sits and doesn't get utilized. So that's why I'm recommending that it's a combination training facility as well as council chambers as well as Emergency Operations Center.
Thank you for that.
If I
just had to
might
put the thing on mute. Who was that there? Sorry.
it was me, Councillor Dunn.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just really quick, Patty. The ones that you've checked off, they all meet the requirements, or you're pretty sure they do. Do all the other ones, are they on the cusp? Are they all ready to go as well? Do they meet all the requirements as well?
Yes, great question. Yeah, they do, Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Scoswell. Yes, they do meet the requirements. As well, I wanted to comment again why I overestimated. Again, these were, if council was to approve these, I have to actually get quotes. And these were just quotes on the phone. We actually have to get exact quotes. So I want to kind of, some quotes may become lower, some may come a little higher once we actually get the vendors out here to quote. So that's why I want to oversubscribe the list. And as long as council's okay with the list, gives me a little flexibility. Of course, I will let council know how the quotes come in. This is a very short timeline. I have 2 weeks to get 3 quotes on each item and see exactly where we are. As you know, we were talking about, we thought that the cost to do work this summer would be lower, but we're finding it's actually higher. If anybody's bought a 2x4 lately, they would know that. And electrical contractors are very busy this year. This stimulus program, we're not going to be the only ones asking for quotes and work. So again, very short timelines. We're doing our very best as your management team to come up with this list. And I would like to oversubscribe with costing. I'm not sure
Is
what
there
else I
kind of a
could
limit
provide
for
to
the
help council make a
oversubscribing?
decision.
Is there a limit for the oversubscribing?
Well, Mr. Mayor, we won't be able to oversubscribe, but I just want to not have to come back to council. I don't have time. And so if some of my projects come in a little bit lower than our initial over the phone estimate, I would like the option to subscribe or to submit a few others, right?
Okay. Yeah, no, I was just wondering if there's room to include that one because you've mentioned that you've already went a little bit over.
Yeah, we have. The one that I would probably ask council to lean towards would be the barrier for children somehow, to see if I can find a cheaper way to do that on the bridge there to get our kids across to school safely.
Hmm. Yeah, that has a large bearing on safety.
Some may
for sure.
come higher. Yeah, some may come in higher. I did really focus on safety and infrastructure. The other ones are enhancements, which are also important, and during, you know, the need for mental health and sports and recreation, and absolutely, but I wish we were there, and I just don't feel we're there. I feel safety and infrastructure improvements are where we need to focus. Any funding we can find.
Okay.
Again, and I'm not going to quit looking for funding for these other projects. As you know, I'm always watching. And if the other ones fall under those categories, we'll definitely put them in.
Yeah. Would it be okay if we just go ahead with this motion, and if it's defeated, then we would have to modify the list? Is that a way to handle this?
Absolutely, that'd be a great idea, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so then call the question. All those opposed to this motion, please voice your opinion.
Opposed.
Could you
Any
read the
others
motion?
opposed? Did you
Mr.
ask for the
Mayor-
motion to be read back?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, sorry, we just lost Councillor Campbell. So the motion, I just gotta mute everybody. So, Mr. Mayor, the motion right now is that Town Council direct administration to submit funding approval to the MSB for the capital projects that have been recommended by administration, totaling $165,822. And
Okay.
so far, Councillor Falardo at the Fire Hall has voted against that motion.
Yep. Is there any other councillors opposed to the motion? Okay, hearing none, then the motion is carried. Thank you. I guess we move on to reports next. I just wanted to mention
Sorry.
one important item
Sorry.
first.
Do we not
I just-
hear Councillor Campbell's response to that? Because he just came back on.
Oh,
Did he miss-
no, I didn't hear Councillor Campbell at all. No, sorry. Go ahead, Councillor George.
I was off line here for a bit. Are we, where are we at?
I just want his vote on that item as well, please.
So how was your vote on that item? Did you go with the administration list?
I go with the administration list. I don't think there should be any deviations to the list at this time.
Okay, thank you. So then there was just one opposed then. Thank you. Before we move on past this item, I just want to thank the provincial government for recognizing the need in our community for infrastructure and helping us out with this money to get some important things fixed and to maybe stimulate the economy. Thank you very much. So reports is number 9, council committee reports. Looking for a motion from council to approve or receive the council committee reports as information.
I'll bring that forward. I move that council accepts the committee reports as information.
Thank you, Councillor Pat.
Mhm.
Any comments, questions, or concerns with that motion? Okay, haven't heard none. Is there anyone opposed to that motion? None opposed, and the motion's carried. Now we're looking for a motion for the mayor report to receive his information.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor George.
I'll make a motion that we receive the mayor's report as information.
Thank you for that. Any thoughts, questions, concerns with that motion? Okay, haven't heard none. Any opposition to that motion? Okay, and that motion is carried as well. 9.3 CAO report. Could we get a motion to receive the CAO report?
I can make that motion, Mr. Mayor. The council
Thank you,
received the
Deputy
chief administration officer's report as information.
Thank you for that. Any comments, questions, or concerns on that motion? Anyone have any questions for our CAO?
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead.
Again, I just so I can understand again, is there a possibility to review the policy and how things go out for noxious weeds or unsightlies and see if that can be changed to maybe expedite it a bit more? Is there any possibility of that? Because right now it's it's going to snow soon, I think, and by that time we're still asking them to clean up their lots, and it's taking quite some time. And I understand that's the policy, but is there any way that we can review it to change it so it's I guess easier to get them to clean up their properties?
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Lecco, could I suggest that we do, since we're at the end of the season here, could I suggest that we do a report and a little bit of training on the Weed Act and how it applies to municipality? Would that be helpful? And then maybe start a conversation from there?
Yeah, would that
Just
go
do a
with
review?
and that'll go for unsightlies as well, for lots that are unkept and stuff like that?
Yeah, correct, Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Lecco, and then maybe we could use that as a starting. We'll just do a little education piece on both, and then talk a little bit about the process, maybe some stats on the last few years for compliance and notices issued, etc. Maybe that would help council understand a little better, maybe?
Please and thank you. Thank you.
Any other inquiries on the CAO report?
I have a question. I was wondering how the Public Works is making out and getting their winter preparedness, getting equipment ready, all that stuff for upcoming winter months.
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Campbell, we're on schedule. Nothing has been flagged. So of course, we're still in summer programs. It is still summer. But yeah, we've had all the CFIPs done and all the equipment's being looked at. The skid steer was just finished off, and yeah, we're on schedule. Nothing, no flags yet for us. So.
And as far as winter is going, how is our underground infrastructure or water lines, sewer, or anything like that that can be possible problems come winter that maybe we should be looking at now?
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Campbell, nothing so far.
Okay.
Any other comments, questions, or concerns from council for our CAO? CAO, Pat, in the report, it mentions the repairs to the roofs on the Infinity Center and Fire Hall. Did they come in on budget, or any idea on the costs there?
Mr. Mayor, the Infinity Center was not in the budget. It was once we had a major leak there in one of the rainstorms. And once we had the person that deals with roofs, they went and investigated. It was something about the membrane. I believe that bill came in around 7,000. And the fire hall, we had enough in the maintenance budget to cover. So The Infinity roof was definitely an unscheduled budget item.
Okay. And the roof repairs of the fire hall, any idea on the cost on that?
Mr. Mayor, I have to get back to you on that one. I think it was around 5,000, but I would have to confirm with Director of Public Works.
Okay, thanks. And the 7,000 is coming from reserves or for the Infinity Center roof?
Mr. Mayor, this is kind of a crazy year. I think I mentioned to council before, and I believe in December I'll see, as you know, some things haven't gone and some of our costs are down, some are up. So before we have to go to reserves, I'll just see if we have enough in the operating budget as approved by council to cover some of these unscheduled costs.
Okay. Any other questions from council for administration? Pat, I noticed in the write-up that the arena is scheduled for the cool down in September here. And I'm just wondering, with now we're in September, how are plans coming for the upcoming hockey season?
So, Mr. Mayor, as you know, I think Councillor Lecco shared with us, the minor hockey is meeting on the 12th of September. So right now we're working on, I actually just had our arena inspected today of what we have to do to open for COVID. I'm developing a set of parameters for our users groups, which will go out with the contracts. So that's the only difference that the user groups will see is the expectations for using our facility during the COVID. And the only thing we're waiting on right now is if minor hockey is going ahead as planned. But other than that, the arena schedule is full. And I imagine the minor sports associations, there'll be some shuffling depending on numbers between Fort Saskatchewan and Bruderheim, as always, every year. I didn't see that Councillor Lecco shared with me that they came up with a payment plan for the Bruderheim minor sports, which I think is a phenomenal idea, that any families that need to have alternative can pay monthly instead of lump sum. So really excited to hear that. I think it's very important for our community that we get that arena moving and opening and safe. So yeah, no roadblocks so far, except for the funding that we didn't receive that was unbudgeted from Lamont County that council's going to have to make a decision about how I fund that. And other than that, I think that's it, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. And I have a relative who participated in that Go East contest recently, and apparently someone from Bruderheim won that contest. Is it possible that we could share that information with our residents?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I've been waiting for the official announcement.
Okay,
The underground moves faster than the officials.
Yeah, sometimes it does. Yeah, thank you so much for that. And I'm just wondering, when it comes to our Lamont County FCSS, would it be a fair assessment that it's been a struggle for them to provide assistance for our community this year with the COVID?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, it's I think the demand has been increased. We've been told by other professional organizations that to help our community, that our residents have seen an increase on requests for support, and we've had to look elsewhere for those supports, as well as none of our programming ran this summer for day camps, taught programs, extended cooking programs, the things that were really enjoyed by the community. FCS again tried really hard the online, but yeah, there's a definite lack of presence in the community. That's for sure. That's been felt.
Okay, and I just wanted to also mention that it's great that you're flagging those special notes, like for 20 years of taxes on the annex lands, so that people in the future catch that one. I wanted to make sure that we recognize the volunteer support that we received from a volunteer working in our town office right now. And thank you very much, Tasha. Very much appreciated. I did have one inquiry. There was a question a while back about getting it so that you don't have to use a personal credit card for town purchases. Just wondering where we're at with that one.
Mr. Mayor, yeah, we're still working through that process. So yeah, I haven't been able to get an update from ATB on that one yet.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments from council for our CAO?
I just have one question. Were you guys able to find out, Patty, about that antenna that was supposed to be going up? Is it, did it go ahead or anything? Did we hear any more further back on that one? By the fire, by the arena there?
Oh, Mr. Mayor, through Deputy Mayor, you mean the towers? Sorry, we missed part of that. Yes, I believe the tower is going ahead by the end of the month. And we'll be the next meeting, bringing that to the next meeting for a discussion.
Awesome. Thanks. Good news.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions, or concerns for the motion on the CAO report? Having heard none, then any opposition to the motion, please voice your opinion. Okay, having heard none, the motion is carried. Thank you. Number 10, correspondence and information items. At this time, I don't have any correspondence or information items to bring forward. Is there anything that administration has that came in the mail that I might not be aware of?
Mr. Mayor, nothing from administration.
Okay, so it is now 8:26. Does our council need a comfort break before the closed session, or we're good to close the public session now and then go to the closed session? Is there any thoughts from council on that?
I would like just a quick comfort break if possible. Maybe five minutes would be fantastic.
Okay, so you're making that motion?
Yes, I'd make a motion that we have a 5-minute comfort break, please.
Thank you. Any comments, questions, or concerns with that motion? No opposition to the motion? Hearing none, then the motion's carried and we'll have a 5-minute comfort break. So we'll reconvene at 8:32. Thanks, Councillor Dan.
Thank you.